Hello and welcome. I'm Kevin Wenning. What you have here is a series of photography refresher exercises. This is designed for people who are either newish to photography, or maybe you just don't pick up your camera that often and you want to refresh these concepts in your mind before you take a vacation or maybe a trip with other photographers, and you want to come home with some photos that you're proud of, maybe that you want to hang in your own home or share with other people. On the free download, I've got this broken down into two different sections. On the first page, we've got mechanically making a good photo. So I'm refreshing the concept of your shutter speed, aperture and f-stop, and focus points. ISO is included in there a little bit as well, along with the exercises. And then on the second page, we're talking conceptually about how to make a good photo. What is a good photo? How to direct viewers' attention to what you want them to look at in the image. Let's talk about the first set there: aperture, f-stop, shutter speed, focus points. These are topics that come from people that I've traveled with, that I work with on their photography, and these are the most common questions that come up when we get in front of a scene. They say, again, how do I freeze the shutter speed? How do I do shallow depth of field? How do I focus on this, but I leave everything else blurry? How do I do that automatically with my camera? So the way I do these videos is as if I'm sitting down with a friend at my desk, walking through some of my own photos, explaining, here's what you would do in this situation, here's how to execute it on this kind of a photo. And then I give you a worksheet with some go-by photos. And the idea here is for you to practice those. Go through the worksheet for 2 to 3 weeks before your next photography project or vacation, and get those ideas fresh in your head so that you've just executed them. Ideally, you'll be ready to go when you hit the ground and not have to fumble around wondering where those settings are in your camera, because you will have just practiced them. And moving now to page 2 of that free download, we've got 2 videos there. One about what is actually a good photo, and then directing viewer attention. And these are things that, for myself, I found sorely lacking in beginner photography education. So we talk about in what is a good photo, moving on a grading scale as if we're submitting photos to a panel of judges, maybe for a photography competition. We go from a 0, complete throwaway image, nothing redeeming about this image, and we work our way up through snapshot quality, and then, okay, now I can see that you're contemplating and you're actually making a good photo on purpose. And then at the top end, what would maybe be the best image. And I present the photos in this way so that I'm not just saying this is a good photo and this is why, but you can see it in the context of, okay, we started with a bad photo, now we're working towards a good photo, and what's the difference between those. And the final video there for directing viewer attention. This is a concept that I was not introduced to when I started photography, but I really wish somebody had pointed me to this, because it's really powerful and it helped me to understand how people break down your image, or rather, what do people look at in your image? And this is not based on what another photographer might look at and analyze about your image. This is based on physiological triggers, things that people can't help but look at. So the lights and the darks and the sharpest points in the image and the color contrast, things like that. So we dive into a little bit of the theory about why is a photo a good photo, or why do people stop and look at it? Why do they stop and spend a little bit of time with it? Or why do they maybe just not care about it at all? So again, kind of what is a good photo, but more in terms of how do I grab people's attention with my composition, with the way I layer the lights and the darks and my focus points in the image. So how do I take all of those mechanical things that I just practiced, the shutter speed and the f-stop and the aperture and the focus points, and use those to actually compose a good image that people are going to stop and look at and spend some time with.